Captain James Walker stared at the massive shape that slowly emerged from the darkness of space. His small salvage ship, the Fortune Seeker, looked like a toy compared to what their sensors were showing. The object was bigger than anything humans had ever built, a ship that stretched for nearly 5 kilometers in length. "Mark, are you seeing this?" James called out to his sensor operator, his voice barely above a whisper. The bridge of the Fortune Seeker was completely silent, all 6 crew members frozen at their stations as they watched the massive vessel drift past their view screen. "Yes, sir," Mark replied, his fingers dancing across his console. "It's definitely not human. The design doesn't match anything in our database. No power readings, but the hull is intact. No battle damage that I can see." James leaned forward in his captain's chair, his heart pounding. In 15 years of deep space salvage operations, he had never seen anything like this. The vessel was clearly a warship. Its sleek lines and massive weapon ports made that obvious, but it was completely dead in space. "Tom, take us closer," James ordered his pilot. "But keep the engines at minimum power. We don't know if anything's still active on that thing." The Fortune Seeker crept forward, its spotlights illuminating sections of the alien vessel's hull. The metal surface was covered in strange markings that seemed to shift and change as the light passed over them. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Captain," called Lisa from the communication station, "I'm picking up an automated beacon. It's broadcasting on all frequencies, but the language isn't anything I've ever heard before." James nodded slowly. "Record everything. Mary, start scanning for entry points. If this ship is as abandoned as it looks, we might have just made the discovery of the century." The next hour was tense as the Fortune Seeker's crew carefully mapped the exterior of the massive vessel. They found what appeared to be a hangar bay, its massive doors frozen half open, like the gaping mouth of some space-borne leviathan. "Environmental scan complete," Mark announced. "There's atmosphere inside, but it's thin. The internal temperature is just above freezing. If we want to go aboard, we'll need suits." James stood up from his chair and walked to the front viewport. The alien ship seemed to stretch forever into the darkness. "Mary, any signs of life?" "Nothing on thermal or motion sensors," Mary replied. "If anyone's home, they're being very quiet." The decision weighed heavily on James. Salvage law was clear. Abandoned vessels were fair game. But this wasn't some broken-down human freighter. This was first contact material. "Lisa, send a coded transmission to Earth Defense Force Command. Mark everything as highest priority." James turned to face his crew. "Until we hear back, we're going to do a preliminary survey. Tom, Mary, you're with me. The rest of you maintain position and keep scanning. If anything changes, and I mean anything, I want to know about it immediately." 20 minutes later, James floated through the alien hangar bay in his environment suit, the magnetic boots keeping him anchored to the deck. The Fortune Seeker's lights barely penetrated the vast darkness ahead of them. Their helmet lights caught glimpses of what looked like alien fighters, their designs unlike anything human engineers had ever dreamed of. "This isn't just a warship," Mary whispered over the comm. "Look at the size of this bay. This is a carrier. A supercarrier." "But where's the crew?" Tom asked, his light beam dancing across empty maintenance stations and silent machinery. James was about to respond when his suit's radio crackled. "Captain," Lisa's voice was urgent. "We're picking up multiple ships dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. They're broadcasting Earth Defense Force identification codes. Sir, it's half the fleet." James looked at the empty hangar around them and smiled. Whatever this ship's story was, it was about to change the course of human history. "Well," he said, "I guess we better prepare to receive some visitors." The 3 humans stood in the vast alien hangar, their lights tiny points in the darkness, as humanity's greatest discovery waited silently around them. 2 weeks after the discovery, the alien supercarrier's main bridge was filled with the soft glow of portable lights and the quiet murmur of human voices. Dr. Thomas Reed stood before a towering control panel, his eyes fixed on the strange symbols that covered its surface. Around him, dozens of Earth's best engineers worked at various stations, trying to understand the massive ship's systems. "Try it now," Thomas called out to Commander Anna Miller, who sat in what they assumed was the captain's chair. The chair was too large for a human, designed for a being much bigger than any person from Earth. Anna placed her hand on the neural interface pad, a smooth surface that glowed with a faint blue light. For the 100th time that day, nothing happened. She sighed and shook her head. "Still nothing, Doctor. Just like the last 50 attempts." Thomas ran his fingers through his graying hair in frustration. The Earth Defense Force had given them 1 month to figure out how to activate the ship's systems. 2 weeks had passed, and they hadn't made any progress. "I don't understand," he muttered, checking his readings again. "The power systems are working. We can see that the neural interface is active, but it just won't respond to our inputs." Suddenly, a young engineer named Mike rushed onto the bridge, his face flushed with excitement. "Dr. Reed, Commander, you need to see this right now." They followed Mike down to the engineering section, where his team had been studying the ship's computer core. The room was massive, filled with columns of crystal-like structures that pulsed with soft light. "Look at this," Mike said, pointing to his computer screen. "We've been going about this all wrong. The neural interface isn't broken. It's working exactly as it should. The problem is that it was designed for brains that work completely differently from ours." Thomas leaned closer to the screen, his eyes widening as he understood the data. The alien brains, they were too organized, too rigid in their thinking patterns. "Exactly," Mike continued. "Their neural patterns are like perfectly straight lines. But human brains..." He pulled up a new image showing the chaotic, creative patterns of human thought. "We're all over the place. Our thoughts branch out in ways theirs never did." Anna frowned. "But wouldn't that make us less compatible with their system, not more?" "That's what we thought," Mike said with a grin. "But look what happens when we adjust the interface to accept variable patterns instead of fixed ones." He typed a few commands, and the neural interface pad on his test bench began to glow brighter. "Commander Miller, would you mind trying again?" Anna placed her hand on the pad. This time, the crystals in the room pulsed with new energy. Holographic displays sprang to life around them, filling the air with streams of data. It's amazing," Anna whispered. "I can feel the ship's systems. They're responding to my thoughts, but not just in the way they were designed to. It's like the ship is learning from how I think." Thomas stared at his readings in disbelief. The ship's quantum processors. They're operating at levels far beyond what we detected before. The creative, adaptive nature of human consciousness is pushing the systems to evolve beyond their original design. "Get Admiral Stone down here now," Anna ordered, her eyes still closed as she explored her connection with the ship. "He needs to see this." As word spread through the ship, more engineers rushed to the engineering section. Each person who tried the interface found they could connect in their own unique way, the ship's systems adapting to each individual's thought patterns. Thomas watched in amazement as his team began documenting the expanding capabilities of the ship's systems. The aliens who built this vessel had created something incredible, but their own mental limitations had prevented them from seeing its full potential. They didn't abandon this ship because it was broken, he realized. They abandoned it because they couldn't understand what it could become. He smiled as he watched the humans around him unlocking one system after another. They could never have imagined what would happen when it met the human mind. The alien Supercarrier's massive hull echoed with the sounds of construction. After 6 months of work, Project Phoenix was transforming the vessel into humanity's greatest achievement. Admiral Robert Stone stood at a newly installed observation window, watching as teams in spacesuits worked on the outer hull. "Progress report," he said to Dr. Thomas Reed, who had just entered the observation room with his tablet. "Better than we expected, sir," Thomas replied, bringing up a holographic display. "The human-sized corridors and living quarters are 80% complete. But that's not the exciting part. His eyes lit up with enthusiasm. It's what we're learning about the ship's capabilities. They walked together through the transformed sections of the ship, where once there were oversized, empty chambers, now there were efficient human-scale compartments. The walls gleamed with a mix of alien technology and human engineering. "Watch this," Thomas said, stopping at a control panel. He placed his hand on the neural interface, and suddenly the solid wall beside them became transparent, showing the space outside. "We discovered that the hull can become completely transparent on command. The aliens only use this feature for basic navigation, but we've modified it to create virtual windows throughout the ship." Admiral Stone nodded approvingly. "Crew morale will be much better if they don't feel locked inside a metal box." "What else?" They entered a large chamber that hummed with energy. In the center, a massive hologram showed a perfect reproduction of the solar system. "This is their tactical room," Thomas explained. "But we've expanded it far beyond its original purpose. The quantum computing core doesn't just process data, it can predict possible futures. Watch." He input a series of commands, and the hologram changed to show a space battle. Ships moved and fought in accelerated time, showing dozens of possible outcomes based on different decisions. "The original aliens used this for basic battle planning," Thomas said, "but human minds interact with it differently. We can use it to run millions of scenarios in minutes, testing strategies that the original creators never even considered." Their tour continued to the engine room, where Commander Anna Miller was supervising a team of engineers. The room had been completely redesigned, with human-sized walkways weaving between the towering power cores. "Commander, show the Admiral what you discovered," Thomas called out. Anna smiled and placed her hand on a nearby interface. The engine's hum changed pitch slightly. "The aliens used these engines at maybe 40% of their potential," she explained. "They were too careful, too structured in their thinking. Human creativity lets us push the systems far beyond their original specs. Watch this." On her command, a hologram appeared showing the ship's power distribution. "We can actually reconfigure the power systems on the fly, redirecting energy exactly where we need it, when we need it. In battle, we could send extra power to weapons or shields instantly, then switch it to engines just as fast." Admiral Stone watched the power flow patterns with interest. "And it's all safe." "Safer than anything we've built ourselves," Thomas assured him. "The ship's systems actually adapt to prevent any dangerous overloads. It's learning from us, growing beyond its original programming." They ended their tour on the bridge, which now looked like a perfect blend of human and alien technology. The oversized alien chairs had been replaced with human-scale command stations. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing ship status in both alien symbols and human text. "The finest minds on Earth have been working on this project," Thomas said proudly. "Every day, we discover new things this ship can do, things its creators never imagined, because they didn't think the way we do." Admiral Stone looked around the bridge with satisfaction. "How long until we can take her out for a real test?" 2 more weeks to complete the essential systems," Anna replied. "Then the Phoenix will be ready for her first flight." As if responding to its new name, the ship's lights pulsed briefly brighter. Admiral Stone smiled. Soon, humanity would show the galaxy what they could do with the technology that others had abandoned. The Phoenix was about to rise, and nothing in space would ever be the same. The emergency alarm echoed through Earth Defense Force headquarters, its harsh sound breaking the normal peace of a quiet morning. Admiral Stone rushed into the command center, where dozens of officers were already gathered around the main display screen. "Report," he barked, taking his position at the central command station. "Sir, we've detected multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of our solar system," reported Captain Jack from the sensor station. "Biggest fleet we've ever seen. Over 300 vessels, and the smallest one is bigger than our largest battleship." The massive screen showed the alien fleet, arranged in a perfect attack formation. Their ships were sleek and dangerous-looking, covered in what appeared to be heavy weapons. As the command center watched, a transmission cut through all their communication channels. A face appeared on the screen, tall, gray-skinned, with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. The alien spoke, its words automatically translated by the computers they had developed using the Phoenix's technology. "Attention, primitive species," the alien commander said, its voice filled with contempt. "We are the Concordat, rulers of 500 star systems. Your world has been chosen for integration into our empire. Surrender now, and we will allow you to serve as a client race. Resist, and we will take your world by force." Admiral Stone stood straight, his face calm despite the threat. "This is Admiral Robert Stone of the Earth Defense Force. We are a peaceful species, but we will defend ourselves if threatened. Perhaps we could discuss this situation diplomatically." The alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "Diplomacy is for equals, primitive. Our scans show your technology level. You have no weapons that could harm our ships. You have 1 Earth day to surrender, or we will demonstrate our power by destroying one of your outer colonies." The transmission cut off abruptly. The command center erupted in urgent conversations and activity. "Get me the Phoenix," Admiral Stone ordered. "Now." Moments later, Dr. Thomas Reed's face appeared on a secure channel. He was standing on the Phoenix's bridge, which was hidden in a secret facility beneath the lunar surface. "We saw everything, Admiral," Thomas said. "The Phoenix is ready. But sir, those ships out there, they're using the same basic technology as this carrier. Their designs are nearly identical." Admiral Stone's eyes widened. "You mean?" "Yes, sir. The Concordat. They must be the ones who originally built this ship, or at least they built others like it. But they're using the technology in the same limited way as the original creators. They have no idea what this ship can really do now. How soon can the Phoenix be ready for combat?" Commander Anna Miller stepped into view beside Thomas. "The crew is already boarding, sir. We can be ready to launch in 2 hours. But Admiral, we've never actually tested the weapons in real combat. Everything we know is based on simulations." Admiral Stone looked at the tactical display, where the alien fleet was holding position at the edge of the solar system. Their arrogant ultimatum made his decision easier. "The Phoenix is no longer a test project, Commander. It's now our best hope. I'm transferring my flag to your ship. Have it ready in 1 hour." As preparations for battle began across the solar system, Admiral Stone stood alone for a moment, watching the alien fleet on the display. They had come expecting to find an easy target, a primitive race they could bully into submission. Instead, they were about to learn what happened when humans got their hands on advanced technology. "Sound General Quarters," he ordered, heading for the shuttle bay. "And send a message to the Concordat. Tell them," he smiled grimly, "tell them that humanity respectfully declines their offer, and we look forward to demonstrating why." In its hidden lunar dock, the Phoenix's systems hummed to life, its human crew taking their stations. The ship that had been abandoned as useless was about to show the galaxy what it could really do, in the hands of the right species. The Concordat fleet moved toward Earth with absolute confidence. Their massive ships entered the solar system in perfect formation, weapons charged and shields at full power. On their command ship, Admiral Krell watched the tactical display with all 4 eyes, expecting an easy victory. "My lord," his sensor officer called out, "we're detecting the single ship launching from behind their moon." Krell made a dismissive gesture. "Just one ship. These primitives are even more foolish than we thought. Show me." The image that appeared on his screen made him freeze. There, moving with impossible grace for its size, was a ship he recognized. A ship that should not exist. "Impossible," he whispered. "That's the prototype we abandoned. The neural interface failure that nearly ruined our fleet program." On board the Phoenix, Admiral Stone sat in the command chair, his hand resting on the neural interface panel. Around him, the bridge crew worked with perfect coordination, their minds linked to the ship's systems in ways the Concordat had never imagined possible. "All stations report ready," Commander Anna Miller announced. "Power systems at 120% of original specifications. Neuralink is stable across all crew positions." Dr. Thomas Reed stood at his engineering station, monitoring the quantum core's performance. "Sir, the ship is responding better than in any of our tests. It's eager for this." Admiral Stone nodded. "Send the broadcast on all frequencies. Let's show them what they missed." The Phoenix moved forward, its massive form accelerating with the agility of a fighter. Across all channels, Admiral Stone's voice rang out. "Concordat Fleet, this is your only warning. Leave our space now, or face the consequences of your actions." On the Concordat command ship, Crowell was still staring in disbelief. How are they even operating it? The neural interface was incompatible with all known species. He slammed his hand down on his command console. "Destroy that ship. All ships, open fire." 300 Concordat ships fired at once, filling space with energy beams and plasma torpedoes. The Phoenix's crew tensed, ready for their first real combat test. "Execute Pattern Omega," Admiral Stone commanded. What happened next would be talked about in space combat schools for centuries to come. The Phoenix moved in ways that should have been impossible for a ship its size. It flowed through the storm of weapons fire like water, each movement predicted and calculated by its human crew through the neural interface. "Their weapons are following standard Concordat attack patterns," Anna reported, her eyes closed as she processed the tactical data. "Just like in our simulations. They're not adapting at all." Admiral Stone smiled. "Of course not. They never learned how." Return fire. The Phoenix's weapons opened up, but not in the rigid, predictable patterns the Concordat expected. Instead, the ship fired from constantly changing angles, its weapon ports reconfiguring on the fly as the human crew improvised new attack patterns. "Impossible," Krell screamed as he watched 3 of his ships explode. "How are they using systems that don't exist? Those weapons configurations violate every design principle." The battle quickly turned into a rout. The Phoenix danced through the Concordat formation, its human crew using the ship's systems in ways their original designers had never imagined. Weapons and shields were combined in new ways, power was redirected through paths that shouldn't have worked, and tactics evolved moment by moment. Within an hour, 20 Concordat ships had been destroyed, and 30 more were disabled. The rest of the fleet was in chaos, their rigid battle formations shattered by tactics they couldn't understand or predict. "My lord," Krell's second-in-command said quietly, "we must retreat. They've turned our own technology against us in ways we never thought possible." As the Concordat fleet began its withdrawal, Admiral Stone watched them go from the Phoenix's bridge. "Send a message to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them the test was successful. And tell them to prepare for mass production. The galaxy needs to know that humanity's ready to take its place among the stars." 1 month after the Phoenix's victory, Earth's shipyards were busier than ever before. Dr. Thomas Reed stood in the observation room of the Luna shipyard, watching as workers swarmed over the hull of another massive ship. This one had been found drifting in deep space, another failed prototype abandoned by the Concordat. "That's the 5th one this month," Commander Anna Miller said, joining him at the window. The Concordat really did throw away a lot of ships they couldn't figure out. Thomas nodded, checking his tablet. "And each one has the same compatibility with human neural patterns. It's like these ships were waiting for us to find them." Below them, engineers were installing the modified neural interfaces that would allow human crews to unlock the ship's full potential. News of the Phoenix's victory had spread through the galaxy, and other abandoned Concordat ships were being discovered almost weekly. "Admiral Stone is on the comm," a young officer announced, hurrying into the room. "He says it's urgent." The main screen lit up, showing Admiral Stone aboard the Phoenix. "Doctor, Commander, are you seeing the latest tactical data?" "Yes, sir," Anna replied, pulling up the information on her tablet. "The Concordat is pulling back from 3 more sectors. They're abandoning operational ships now, not just prototypes. The tactical display showed dozens of Concordat vessels being left behind as their fleet retreated. The ship's crews were evacuating, terrified that humans would turn their own vessels against them as they had done with the Phoenix. Their entire military doctrine is falling apart, Admiral Stone said with satisfaction. They built their empire on having the most advanced technology, but they never fully understood how to use it. Now they're running from their own ships. Thomas studied the data scrolling across his screen. Sir, we're getting reports from other species in the galaxy. Apparently, we're not the only ones the Concordat tried to bully, but we are the first ones who fought back successfully. That's not all, Anna added, her eyes lighting up as she read a new report. 3 other civilizations have contacted Earth, asking for help with abandoned Concordat technology they found. They want to know if human neural patterns can unlock their potential too. Admiral Stone smiled. The Council has already approved a technological exchange program. We'll help other species learn to use these ships, in exchange for their help building a new galactic defense fleet. A flash of light from the shipyard drew their attention. The newly retrofitted ship was powering up its systems for the first time under human control. Its hull gleamed as energy flowed through patterns that its original builders had never fully understood. The Concordat called us primitives, Thomas said softly, watching the ship come to life. But they were the ones who couldn't see past their own limitations. Every ship they abandoned is a gift to us, and to every other species they look down on. Speaking of gifts, Admiral Stone's expression grew serious. Our deep space probes just found something interesting. Remember how we thought the Phoenix was special because it was a prototype? Well, we just found what looks like their main production facility. They abandoned it when the neural interfaces failed to work properly. Anna's eyes widened. How many ships? Hundreds. All of them just waiting for crews who can think creatively enough to use them properly. The Admiral's smile returned. I want your teams to start planning the retrofit operation immediately. The Concordat's empire is crumbling, and someone needs to help fill the power vacuum they're leaving behind. As if in response to his words, the new ship in the yard fired its engines for the first time. Its human crew guided it smoothly out of the dock, already showing the same impressive control that had made the Phoenix legendary. The galaxy's changing, Thomas said, watching the ship accelerate away from Earth. And this time, everyone gets a chance to reach their full potential. 1 year after the Phoenix's historic battle, the Great Hall of the newly built Galactic Exchange Center on Earth was filled with representatives from 20 different species. The massive room, designed to accommodate beings of all sizes and environmental needs, hummed with excited conversation in dozens of languages. Admiral Stone stood at the main podium, looking out over the assembled delegates. Behind him, through the hall's transparent ceiling, the Phoenix floated in orbit, its massive form visible against the stars. The ship that had started everything was now a symbol of hope for the entire galaxy. 1 year ago, he began, his words automatically translated for all present. Humanity was considered a primitive species by the Concordat. Today, we gather here not as conquerors or rulers, but as teachers and friends. Dr. Thomas Reed and Commander Anna Miller sat in the front row, along with the original crew of the Phoenix. They had spent the past year helping other species understand and adapt the abandoned Concordat technology to their own unique neural patterns. Each species thinks differently, Admiral Stone continued. The Concordat's mistake was believing their way was the only way. But we've discovered that every species has something unique to offer. The neural interfaces we've developed don't just copy human patterns. They adapt to each species' special ways of thinking. On the massive screens behind him, images appeared showing ships now crewed by various alien species. Each vessel had been modified to work with its crew's unique biology and thought patterns. The Blue Ring people found they could extend sensor range beyond anything we achieved. Thomas whispered to Anna, pointing to one of their allies in the audience, and the Highland Collective's crystalline neural structure lets them process tactical data faster than any human. Admiral Stone gestured to the delegates. The Galactic Technical Exchange Program is now fully operational. Earth will serve as a hub where species can share their discoveries and innovations. Together, we're unlocking potential that none of us could have achieved alone. He touched a control, and new images appeared. Ships under construction in orbits around dozens of worlds. The Concordat's abandoned ships and facilities aren't going to waste. Each member world is developing its own fleet, adapted to their unique capabilities. And unlike the Concordat, we share our discoveries freely. The Admiral's expression grew more serious. The Concordat's empire has collapsed. Their rigid thinking and fear of change proved to be their undoing. But we're not here to replace one empire with another. Instead, we're building something new, a coalition of equals, each contributing their own strengths. Anna looked around the hall, remembering how it all started with one abandoned ship and a salvage crew brave enough to explore it. Now, Earth's solar system was a bustling hub of galactic commerce and cooperation. Ships of all designs arrived daily, bringing visitors eager to learn and share knowledge. The Phoenix showed us what was possible, Admiral Stone concluded, but it was just the beginning. Every day, we discover new ways to combine our different perspectives and abilities. The galaxy is entering a new age of discovery and cooperation. As if emphasizing his words, a new ship appeared in the sky beside the Phoenix. It was clearly inspired by Concordat design, but modified with technology from half a dozen species. Its crew included humans, Blue Rings, and Highland Collective members, all working together. The future is no longer about one species dominating others, the Admiral said, smiling at the gathered delegates. It's about all of us reaching our full potential together. The hall erupted in applause and various other signs of approval from the assembled species. The Phoenix's discovery had done more than save humanity. It had shown the galaxy a better way forward, a way where differences were strengths, not weaknesses, and where every species could contribute to a greater whole. As the celebration continued, the stars seemed to shine brighter through the transparent ceiling, promising a future filled with endless possibilities for all who dared to reach for them.